One of the things I get asked about a lot is, what kind of content should I be doing for YouTube or for TikTok? Because YouTube isn't new, but it's, as far as generating organic content, a lot of dealerships just really still aren't using it. They're putting their commercials on YouTube, and that's great if your commercials are like 40 years old and you're trying to be nostalgic. That's awesome. But if you're just putting up whatever this week's ad is, that's just not going to cut it. And you're not going to get a whole lot of following other than the people that actually work for your company, or the people that actually, vendors, things like that. That's going to be all of your traffic on there. It's not going to be people seeking out your commercial to go look for it. So what do we do? So instead of making and I'm not saying you don't put those on there at all. You have to put those on there, right? That's how you share them with vendors, usually, things like that. But you can make albums for that. So you can make an album for commercials, and that can be strictly where your vendors go to get the content they need, or if you're previewing an ad, things like that. That's great. But then you really, for public knowledge, you really should have a like a DIY album. So, and what I mean by that is telling people how to see if the tread of their tires, if their tires need to be changed out, what their oil on a dipstick should look like, what their brakes should look and sound like if they're in bad or good working condition. How to know if there's a problem with my air cabin filter, my engine filter, air filter, things like that. How to know when I need a new battery and when I just need to jump for today, because for whatever reason, or how do I know when I need a new alternator? What are the recommended services at certain miles and why? And I'm not talking about the manufacturer generated content. That's great. That's professional. That's clean. That's really nice looking. Great. But here's the problem with that. It's not anybody they can meet at the store. It's usually not even a person in it. It's just a voiceover. And it's really not engaging. You know what I mean? It's not speaking to that geography. It's not speaking to that specific store. It's not speaking to the people that live there. So if you're in upstate Maine and you're showing a video that doesn't speak to the problem of, changing out to snow tires, or changing into your viscosity of your oil, or anything that are the problems that people who live in upstate Maine encounter, that's what I'm talking about. What are some of the issues that people who live in upstate Maine encounter that you could do a DIY video for service and really help them out with trying to navigate through how to be as safe as possible in their car? So put some extra thought into that. Connect with your service techs, connect with your service advisors, and create content for people who want to change out their own oil filters, change out their own batteries, change out their own wiper blades even. Things like that, checking the spare tire to make sure it's still a functional spare tire. Things like that make a difference in establishing yourself as a subject matter expert, because that's a long game, right? And what you can always add to any of these videos is when to do these things yourself and when to actually seek professional help, and why. So a lot of times taking the extra couple, and literally don't make these more than like 5 minutes. So taking the extra time to make sure that you have you're talking to the people in your geography, that you've addressed the problems that are common in geography, that's going to get you a lot more as far as value-wise of people looking for the content that speaks to them specifically. So, and if you don't know, what's out there, just Google it. How do I know when my tire tread, my tires need replacing, when my tire tread is low? How do I know when the tire tread is low on my specific model in Maine, just to keep our state consistent there in our example? And see what pops up. a lot of times it's like Joe Schmo down the street. If anything, I've Googled it in my backyard, different phrases on that kind of stuff. And the only thing that comes up is stuff that's, you know, people who are 200 miles away, like Bob in his backyard working on his car. No dealers pop up with that content. Manufacturers pop up with that content, but no dealers. That's a big difference. At the manufacturer, it's a great, professional, clean video. Awesome. Nothing speaks to me as I live here in Arizona and the things that people in Arizona encounter. So that's what you really should be looking to produce out for your content-wise on your YouTube channels. TikTok is the same thing. Keep it 2 minutes or less at the very most, but you could do the same type of content. When should I seek out a professional? What things can I check on my own? And just give people advice on keeping their cars in good working condition. Why should I ever put premium in my car? Why? What does that do for me? What does that do for my car? How does that help me long-term with financial savings for my car? Things like that, little videos like that, 2-minute videos, 3-minute videos like that, really, really go far as gaining a following. And if you can gain a following, you can gain customers because you're establishing yourself as a subject matter expert. So don't shy away from those simple little tutorials that set you and your store apart as the subject matter experts, because those people eventually they're going to need cars, they're going to need service. And if you've already set yourself as a subject matter expert, well, guess who's the first person they're going to probably look to check out your pricing on your service or cars. And you didn't have to do any advertising to get them. You've already set that groundwork ahead of time by having those videos speaking to the problems of people who live in Arizona, people who live in Maine. Just think a little more locally with your content. Think about something that is common, a commonality between people who live in your area when they're in their cars that we're used to. You know, the window fogging up, getting ice off the window, things like that. That stuff, things that happen that may not happen in Arizona. We don't carry ice scrapers in our car. We don't have to. But that's something people who live in heavy snow areas, they have to have in their car. So what's the best way to scrape your windshield so I don't break it or I don't scratch it? What's a good trick that if I have to, like if my remote's not working, if I have to get in my car, what's a good trick to get in my car? So little things like that, those types of, and if you're not sure, ask around, ask your salespeople, ask your service guys, ask your service advisors. Hey, what are people coming in here for and complaining? What are cars being brought in for and complaining about? And then as always, the service, the customer states, those are always fantastic content. Those are one of my favorites. The customer states, the blue light on the dash won't turn off and it turns out it's the high beams. And, you know, as long as you don't announce the VIN of the vehicle or the customer information and anything PII, you're fine with that. The customer state's always good traction. So anyway, that's all I got for this week. Happy selling.